Welcome to the Juice Box with Juice Springsteen, covering the week that was in professional wrestling. And welcome once again to another edition of the Juice Box. I am Juice Springsteen. Today, of course, we have the WWE Backlash PLE Predictions Show with myself and Josh Isenberg, formerly of Chair Shot Reality. Really glad to have Josh back in the fold. We did not get to discuss AEW Dynasty before that pay-per-view happened earlier this month, but we did get to discuss Backlash as it happens tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern, taking place from Lyon, France, which is going to be one hell of a crowd, I'm sure. So really enjoyed our predictions. A lot of interesting takes we had and some deep dives into the draft and what makes the draft a little bit different this year and what we might think will happen from now. Maybe to Money in the Bank, even SummerSlam. We talk all the way to WrestleMania at some point. So, really cool little deep dive that Josh and I had today, all while discussing the 5 matches. Only 5 matches discussed, at least planned currently for Backlash tomorrow. So, as of recording, there's only 5. If there's another one added, we did not get to discuss it, but I think the 5 that we did talk about are going to be the most important anyway. But as always, Juicy Steen on Twitter, Juicy Wrestling Closet on Instagram. You can also find the Juice Box on Apple Podcasts, iTunes, and if you do listen to it there, or if you listen to it on Spotify, please give it a 5-star rating. And even if you would like to write a little review, take 60 seconds. It would really help the show. Additionally, you can find the Juice Box on Podbean, juicysteen.podbean.com, and on Amazon Music as well. And I believe I did post about this, but and I believe I also said it last week for the Dynasty predictions in that last week's episode. But the Juice Box is on YouTube at Juicy Steen. So every episode of the Juice Box, all the way from the beginning in January of 2023 up until this episode, of course, and any future potential episodes and any future potential video content will be uploaded to Juicy Steen on YouTube. So I'm kind of figuring out the inner workings of that, depending on maybe in the future we do a prediction show with a video potentially. So stuff like that, or any maybe vlog footage, depending on where I go for shows or whatever. Any sort of video content for the Juice Box, in addition to the RSS feed, so that the podcast is uploaded every single week, every episode in their entirety. You can find that on Juicy Steen, at Juicy Steen on YouTube. So really cool there. I overhauled the YouTube and really tried to make it now a part of this program. And I'm looking forward to uploading some video content, hopefully later on this year in some capacity. But without further ado, would love to just dive right in to the WWE Backlash 2024 prediction show with myself and Josh Isenberg. And we are here inside the Juice Box for another PLE prediction show. We didn't have one with the normal crew for AEW Dynasty. However, that show and subsequent actual pay-per-view turned out pretty well. But it's good to be back with some close friends, a part of the Juice Box family here. The one, the only, Josh Isenberg here for Backlash. How are you doing, man?
I am doing wonderful. How are you today?
I'm hanging in there. Just okay, not great.
Just hanging?
Just hanging.
Hanging tight. I'm excited for this prediction show. I think Backlash a fun card. It might be predictable, but, that's not a bad thing.
I got to, right out the gate, I saw you at WrestleMania. Great time in Philadelphia. Everybody that we got to see and hang out with. Aren't you so glad that we get to do this PLE prediction show and we don't have to predict if Damian Priest is going to cash in Money in the Bank?
It is such a good feeling. excuse me, such a good feeling. I'm getting
Yeah.
choked up thinking about it.
Yeah, man. I mean, it was month after month after month when it just was never happening. And then lo and behold, it happened at WrestleMania. So I'm thrilled. Are you happy with what happened at WrestleMania? I guess we really haven't touched base since then. Overall thoughts of like the weekend and just how things turned out. Like you said,
Yeah.
you said this show in particular, Backlash, is quote unquote predictable, but from Mania till now, and I guess with the recent draft, how are you feeling with WWE as a whole now that
Yeah.
we're away from 40 going to 41?
Yeah, I mean, I think usually May through July, is always let's find these pieces in WWE that, you know, really could be the mid card and potentially could make that leap this time next year. And I think that's exactly what they're doing right now. I think, with Gunther in the King of the Ring, Drew McIntyre in the King of the Ring, they're, focusing on that next month, which is really good because they're continuing to make that feel important. I think they have tried for so many years, but then when you see the roster of individuals in those tournaments, it makes less to be desired for. So I'm excited to see what they do. The draft very quickly. It was fine. Not anything wild or crazy, to be honest with you. But excited for the young NXT people to come up. But yeah, the next couple of months are who sticks, who's going to be, the next 2, 3, 4 years within WWE, who's going to be the future. Some are going to succeed, some are not going to succeed. So it's going to be really interesting to see who they invest their time and effort into. The one team I will say real quick that I think is
Yeah.
a big benefit is the Final Testament moving over to Monday Night Raw, because I do think they did not have a super wonderful run with the Pride storyline and feud. They lost at WrestleMania, which is baffling to me. But now they're on
Yes.
Raw. They have more time for them to be involved with that extra hour. So I'm excited to see what they do with them on Monday nights.
I was gonna say the same thing. The extra hour on Raw does benefit those who may have been lost in the shuffle on SmackDown, and they just kind of built that group. So why would you? I was baffled as well that they lost at WrestleMania. I mean, I enjoyed everything that happened and the inclusion of Bubba Ray, and like I liked it, but I could not believe that the Final Testament, who had just become a thing again, or this group went away and lost,
Yep.
and I was kind of confused by that. Now, again, quickly touching on the draft, although things really didn't shake up too much outside of, Braun Breaker went to Raw, but he was barely even on SmackDown, and the NXT call-ups, I liked the fact that the champions stayed the same because then, I think a big criticism of the draft is, well, with, any real sport team, you're rooting for your team to do better, right? And you're rooting for them to acquire talent to do better. Are fans really rooting for Raw versus SmackDown every week? No, but this, I think, having the different rule of the champion staying kind of made it seem like, all right, well, maybe we can have a hierarchy of where people get picked, and they kind of utilize that. Like Drew McIntyre being picked below CM Punk pissed him off, and Bianca Belair being a first round pick is a huge thing. Same with Jey Uso. Like they can utilize those things as tools to elevate their character while also having, maybe the bloodline, they got pissed because they were drafted in the second round. I think there's ways to do it like that where it will help the draft going forward. But I think the key is a potential, like a trade deadline of some sort in the middle of this draft. And assuming they do another draft to where, oh, this person really wants to wrestle against this other guy. He hates him, but he got to go to the other brand. And then, I'm talking to Nick Aldis, get me over there. I think something like that would really benefit to help the sports presentation, if you will. Do you think something like that's even possible, or are they just going to continue with this roster setup until next year?
I think it's possible, but I think at the same time, how long is this draft going to stick? When are we going to see SmackDown people over to Raw, Raw
Yeah.
people over to SmackDown? So it's a convoluted idea whenever you don't follow by your rules, and they've never really followed by their rules.
Yeah, that's the only thing I'm hoping for is that they just if they stick to the rules, the draft could be a point of emphasis that people look forward to every year, considering there is no off season. But like you said, without that, I can't wait for all these Raw and SmackDown guys to be on each other's shows within 2 months. So
Yep.
we'll see. But let's get to Backlash. 5 matches total, barring any unforeseen incident of another match being held. It's just going to stick to 5, which I'm really not too upset by. I like the quicker 2.5, 3 hour shows. It's taking place in Lyon, France, which is 1 p.m. Eastern here in the States. A lot better than the, what was it? Was it 5 a.m. for
No,
Elimination Chamber?
Yep.
Did you watch it live?
I did, and then I fell asleep right after it.
Yeah, it's a lot. I love the international shows. I've touched on that a bit. I love that some of these countries have just never had, let alone a PLE or a pay-per-view. They just don't really get a lot outside of the 2 weeks that WWE travels over there. So these crowds are rabid. They really love every single piece of these shows. So I'm here for this. We get Clash of the Castle again, Money in the Bank's in Toronto, Bash in Berlin. This whole summer is going to be pretty wild and international. So I can't wait to see what happens in the crowd in France. They also get a SmackDown, which I think is pretty cool.
Yep.
Let's start off with this kind of came out of nowhere. I was thrilled to see this debut, and dare I say, as we predict this match, maybe there's someone else debuting. Randy Orton, Kevin Owens, who tonight will be having the RKO show for the first time, which I think is a genius idea, versus the Bloodline. Yes, Roman Reigns lost, and our answer is we're still rolling with the Bloodline. Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga. I love that they're just adding people in. I think this is a way to keep the storylines fresh. Roman can come back as a good guy eventually, and RKO get to be a fun little team here. Where do you see this playing out, and do you foresee another member already potentially entering this match to help the Bloodline win?
So typically I would say yes, because that's kind of how the Bloodline has won for their entire real tenure in WWE. There's always been the addition or the interference, and I'm not against the idea of adding somebody else to it, but Thomas is just so new, where I think you can get away with just him and Solo playing dirty to win. I don't think anybody thinks Orton and Kevin Owens are going to beat the Bloodline at this point, especially because they're so new, they're so young. This is Thomas' first match in WWE, and you got to make them look dominant. I think Kevin will take the pinfall here. I think they're going to leave that door open for Randy to maybe do a one-on-one feud with Solo Sikoa as the summer goes on, because I do think that they need somebody with Solo and the Bloodline that's credible. They had Cody for 2 years. They had Jay. They had that family story. So if they're not going to do Cody and Randy, which I don't think they will this soon, this is the perfect opportunity for Solo and the Bloodline to feel important and to really attack one of the best of all time in Randy Orton. So I'm going with the Bloodline. I don't think somebody will come out and debut as a third member. If anything, it's just a cheesy, a dirty win, and the Bloodline pick up the victory.
And I think maybe it was you had speculated, somebody in the juice box, somebody did speculated that maybe Solo and Randy Orton would have had a match at WrestleMania, and I was vehemently against that. I was like, look, Solo got his huge win against Cena, but that was in Saudi Arabia, and Cena made good for it at WrestleMania, so it all worked out in the end. But I like what you're saying now. Let's just assume the Bloodline get the win. I'm not sure if there isn't another guy or another member. It would be interesting to see if the Bloodline win this clean, but I'm sure they won't. And I agree with you. I think Kevin Owens probably takes the pin. I doubt we see any animosity between Orton and KO. I think they're going to stay muy simpatico. But I do agree. I think you do get a Randy and Solo match maybe ahead. Not sure where or when, but maybe then is when you would get that potential new member to help get Solo that huge win over another legend, as it were, with Randy Orton. So I agree. I'm going to say the Bloodline win this. Do you ultimately think that this is all leading to Rock Roman at Mania 41? Just the Bloodline in general?
Continuing. 11 months later, yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think that's the obvious choice. And I think we see that obviously pick up in August. They're gonna give these young guys 3-4 months to roll it by
Yeah.
themselves until they shake things up in August, whether it's at SummerSlam or hell even October, November, because hell, even after Survivor Series you still have almost 4 months, 5 months, whatever it is for WrestleMania.
Well, and that's the thing. We don't even know where WrestleMania is taking place and when it will take place. There have been rumors rampant that Derek could be in May next year, which would be unprecedented. What do you think about a January to May WrestleMania season? Is that too long?
No, because they have Elimination Chamber in literally the middle of February. So
Right.
March and April's, 6 weeks or so, 8 weeks really. I don't know if it'll be the first week of May. I think it'll be really probably the week between the NFL draft and probably
The same
NBA
weekend
playoffs
as
and things
Double
like
or
that.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Could
So
you
like
imagine
last
that?
week would have been perfect in my mind for WrestleMania, right? Right before the draft. Nothing really
Right.
going on in the world of sports. The NBA playoffs just started, so there's not a ton of competition there.
Yeah, it's tough because WrestleMania this year went against the March Madness Final Four.
Yep.
I think no matter what, you're going to have a tough time competing. But with WrestleMania being such a huge deal, I just get concerned that if you have even longer period in between, would they add another PLE in between then? Like, I love that it's Rumble and then you have Chamber. That's the last possible way to add things, and then
Yep.
boom, you're at WrestleMania. Otherwise, I don't know. Maybe they would have maybe a longer time would help a story like evolve more. 'Cause
Well,
I
yeah,
feel like that's been a problem.
I agree. And also, if you think with the NFL discussing potentially having the Super Bowl on President's Day weekend, which is the second week of
Yes.
February, you can do Chamber at the end of February. So realistically, you're only having March and then April, maybe 6 or 7 weeks, which is perfect. Enough time. 7 weeks is enough time to put
Yeah.
together 2 nights at WrestleMania. But we're
And,
thinking
and
11 months ahead,
right, of
not
course,
next
I
week.
know. Of course. But we talked Bloodline, so I had to bring it up. But
Yep.
I think Bloodline are going to win, and we'll see what happens in the next 11 months. Let's get to the WWE Women's Tag Titles. These titles did not get split up, which I'm fine with. I don't believe there needs to be two sets of women's tag titles. Let's let's relax on that. We got the Kabuki Warriors, Asuka and Kairi Sane versus Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. My initial immediate thought here is there ain't no way Bianca and Jade can lose this match outside of a DQ or something, but that would be ridiculous. So I think Bianca and Jade are going to take these titles, and then at some point, they're going to have to lose them. And maybe that's when we see the Storm. What do you think is going to happen with this match in particular, Josh?
Yep, absolutely. I agree 100% with you. I think Bianca and Jade are going to win. I'm okay with them being paired up right now. And I don't think it's because Jade can't do a singles run by herself. I think that's very overblown and very much exaggerated. But I think this is a great way to pair her with somebody who is over like Rover and somebody who is a fan favorite, and they have a very good chemistry together as a tag team. And especially when we talk about the Women's World Championship or the WWE Women's Championship, that's going to be defended. This gives an opportunity for Bianca and Jade to elevate championships that desperately need it, because the star power of Jade and Bianca holding these titles completely outweighs the star power, unfortunately, of what Damage Control has done. And I think Damage Control is going to be focusing a lot more on Becky Lynch, as the draft results have dictated. You've gotten all four of them over there, so which one? Maybe Becky steamrolls through all of them. But yeah, Jade and Bianca, there's no chance that they lose this match. I think they are the women's champions. And again, it gives you the opportunity for them to be on both Raw and SmackDown.
Yes, and that was a key to how we brought up the draft where the champions stay protected, but with these championships, there is no brand specificity or specificity. So Bianca and Jade, whoever the champions are, can float between, and that's both are going to be huge draw. Bianca's already one of the biggest draws. She was number one overall pick, and Jade was a huge deal in the draft as well. So you get both for both, and I think that sets up pretty well. And looking at the rest of the card, just realizing that they did say that the draft doesn't, like the rosters don't set until Monday after this show. So I'm not going to, I'm not sure, and I don't want to, go ahead of it, but I'm not sure any other titles are going to change hands outside of the women's tag titles because I think the rosters are pretty set in stone. I don't know if they're because let's just say, and I guess we could get to it later, but if a champion were to lose their title, do they just where do they go? Did they establish that?
I don't think so. Well, if they lose their title, the draft's already over. So what do you mean?
Well, they said that the rosters aren't set in stone until May 6th, meaning anything could happen in between.
Oh, I don't know.
So I'm saying if a champion would lose their title here at this show, does that mean that they're a free agent, and then someone could pluck them before Monday because they'd have to get to a roster? That's just all I'm saying is I don't know if I buy that would happen. So I'm assuming that those titles stay, and the only titles that change hands are the women's ones because they can go between both brands.
Yeah. I think the locking is basically just saying from tonight or from Monday night if something happened. They only said that Monday night really with the champion change with Bronson Reed just to give you. Yeah, I see nothing in that. Even if the women's championship changes hands, which could potentially happen. Yeah, I think you're pretty locked in. I mean, Bayley could, I guess, potentially be a free agent or whatever, but at that point, no. I think after last night, we're pretty locked in on what we're going to see on Raw and SmackDown.
All right, so we both are in agreement. Bianca and Jade take the titles.
Yes, sir.
And how about that? What, a couple matches in, Jade gets her first title in WWE.
She's going to look good with gold around that waist of hers. Too bad it's going to cover her 12-pack, but, beggars can't be choosers, juice.
You could see probably 6 of the 12.
I'm always down for a 6-pack. How about you?
That's right. Hey, 6-pack of whatever you want. Michelob, High C.
Name's Mitch. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, let's move forward to that aforementioned triple threat match for the WWE Women's title. Bayley, Naomi, and Tiffany Stratton. A triple threat match for the women's title here. I think Bayley's going to retain, but dare I say, is it already Tiffy time? She's proven her worth in the very short amount of time that she's been here. But damn, I feel like she's made an incredible impact so far. And maybe it's just biased. I would like to see Tiffany Stratton win this. What say you, Josh?
I think Tiffany Stratton should. She won't. I can't see any title that was recently won at WrestleMania to be dropped less than a month later. If anybody can rebound from it, it's probably Bayley, because she is one of the most consistent women on the roster, and it will give her another piece of adversity to overcome. She overcame Damage Control after months of, dissension, and the ultimate split, 2 months before WrestleMania. So I think let me put it this way. I think there's more money in the story of Tiffany Stratton somehow winning the championship over Bayley retaining. But if I'm a gambling man, I'm putting my money on Bayley to retain. Again, I think it could be Tiffy time, and she gives a fresh perspective on women's championships that have really been dominated by 3 or 4 women over the past 5 years, right? Like Bianca, Charlotte Flair, obviously. Yep. And then you have Becky Lynch, and then you have Bayley. So,
and of course Rhea.
Exactly. And Rhea. So those 5 really have been the only champions that we've seen, which gives me another point of Becky shouldn't have been Raw Women's Champion or whatever they call it now. But yeah, I think it's going to be Bayley, but I small outside chance that they could put the strap on Tiffany Stratton.
Yeah, I would say outside chance as well. And you brought up a great point. I mean, this is, I believe I read here, this is the 19th Backlash event. And I mean, for a long time back in the day, it wasn't that I wasn't looking forward to Backlash, but you made the point. Mostly everything stands the same way. No one really loses anything after WrestleMania, especially if you've just won it. Unless there was some weird circumstance we're not privy to, or they have some sort of other creative direction. Although, the briefcase is cashed in, so there is no more outside chance. Everything pretty much stands pat. So to me, I agree. I don't see Naomi having really a chance here.
No.
But I will say the triple threat makes it interesting to where if they wanted to pull some sort of damage control, like interference, to take the title off Bayley. But God, that would be annoying. Like, again, she just worked this whole time, won the Royal Rumble to just lose at the following pay-per-view. I don't think so. So
Yeah.
I'm in agreement. I think Bayley will retain the WWE Women's title, which is going to be tough to kind of go back and forth with the world title, the women's, which is which, you know?
The women's world, the WWE women's, yeah, it's what it is.
It's a lot.
Too much,
So,
too many words. Women's world, Raw women's, or it's a whole thing.
Undisputed Universal, WWE World Heavyweight.
Just simplify it for us. Come on.
That's right. It's too much. Let's get back to a guy, man, how many times did we think this guy was going to cash in Money in the Bank? And damn it, he finally did. A great cash in, by the way, at WrestleMania. Did you enjoy the Priest cash in and how it was done?
I enjoyed the Priest cash in, but I know this isn't Busted Open Confessionals because LeVar's not here and we're not on Sirius, but I have a confession to make. I was in the merchandise stand when Damian Priest cashed in.
You know, it's really funny. My one buddy, same thing. Like, he left he had to go to the bathroom as soon as the match was over. I was like, oh, okay. And then I don't know, maybe I just was naive and I didn't really think about it. And then all of a sudden it happened and he comes back and I'm like, man, you missed the whole thing.
Right, yeah. And it was funny because it wasn't even for me. It was for my friend who attended his first WrestleMania. He's like, I want to get a shirt here. And I'm like, all right, well, after the first match, there's typically a video package. The second match is probably not the most interesting match. So if we miss a first minute or two of that, but lo and behold, all the times that you and I have said, here's the cash in. This month is Damian's opportunity. This jamoke over here forgot even about it for a half second. And as we were walking, I hear the Damian Priest music, and I'm like, all right, here we go.
Oh, you screwed me again, Priest.
Seinfeld, unbelievable.
It really is. And I also love that it added so much more fuel to the Drew McIntyre CM Punk feud that isn't even going to have a match for another couple months. Like, that really was the best part, is that you can have this whole new beginning with Damian Priest finally cashing in after how many months of this damn show, let alone you set up something that is arguably one of the best feuds going, and Punk has been injured and he can't even have the match yet. So you killed two birds with one stone there, and now we get Jey Uso challenging Damian Priest for the World Heavyweight title. Not necessarily main event Jey Uso, but maybe second, or maybe this opens the night.
Co-main event.
Co-main event, to be fair. I would say maybe this even opens the show with Jey Uso coming out, doing the whole yeet thing, and France going crazy.
They started Crown Jewel, I think, last year with Seth and Drew, if I recall correctly.
Yes.
Yeah. And I like that. I like bookending your shows by starting off with one world championship and the other. I wouldn't be against like them putting this at the end, because there is more of a chance for Jay to win than AJ, and we'll talk about that next. But you don't, I guess, Cody's first title defense, you don't put that on at the very beginning, as he just main evented both nights of WrestleMania.
Right. Cody's absolutely going to main event. And although I won't say that Jey Uso is going to win this match, I would say there's a lot more of an opportunity in this particular match altogether that we see some sort of, maybe a Finn Balor comes out and has a problem with something, or tries to help Priest, but it doesn't really, it kind of backfires, but Priest still wins, and he's like, what the hell? I think Priest and Balor and the Judgment Day kind of imploding on itself is in the future. How near the future, I'm not sure, but I think this lends itself to that. Do you think that's a possibility?
Yeah, I think there's some sort of miscommunication for the past couple of weeks. Damian saying, well, I don't need you guys need me. And when I look at the Judgment Day right now, nothing against JD McDonough, but like, when does JD McDonough become a serious character? It's
when
hard.
He gets punched in the face with the 3 Super Bowl rings.
Yeah.
That was it. His biggest moment.
Yeah. Like, so and I like the Judgment Day, and I compare the Judgment Day to the beginning stages of like the Final Testament, where they didn't have much, and it's crazy to think that like Edge did not provide the Judgment Day as we thought they were going to be. It really took him leaving and Rhea being the de facto leader to make this stable, consistent, and good. And then also you factor in the Dom thing, which he got nuclear heat even whenever other guys on the squad were and gals on the squad were popular. I don't love the JD and Dom being kind of the sideshow comedy in one stable, right? Like, because Finn never wins. Damian is the world champion. Rhea's gone for however long. So when does the seriousness of the Judgment Day take over outside of Damian?
True. And, Rhea's out for a while. It seems like Dom might be out for a bit, although I feel like we might still see him on TV.
Yeah.
If you noticed, he may or may not have been coming out of Liv Morgan, her dressing room on Raw.
Who wouldn't want that, Juice? Who wouldn't want that? Am I right?
Sometimes I get lost and I find myself at Liv Morgan's dressing room, but I thought it was a closet. But no, seriously, you're right. It's almost two sides of the same coin, especially when it's almost like they're parroting Dom within the Judgment Day with JD. Yeah. It's like JD is the lesser, is not as much heat. They just make fun of his look. And like, it's kind of brutal that they're like, they just put him in like that. Cause I felt whenever they were going to add him in, the rumors were going to be add him in, maybe he'd be taken more seriously, but that's really hasn't been the case. But with Rhea being out, I think a lot of stuff kind of can take place now, and Rhea doesn't have to be a part of it. And she probably, when she comes back, is going to be beloved because she's already been beloved.
Yep. And
I think you definitely could see some cracks forming. And now, especially, like you mentioned it, man. Priest saying, "You guys need me. I don't need you. I'm champion. I did it. I did it on my own." Go ahead.
Yep. No, I was gonna say. So, is there do you see an opportunity at all for Jey Uso to win because of a mishap with the Judgment Day? Damian getting pissed off, but potentially, and I'm not always for this, but I do think that whenever you see these PLEs and Raws and SmackDowns with like very little to sometimes no title changes, on those shows, changing a championship after less than a month, it like hurts Damian, but what if he wins it back the next month with the help of the Judgment Day? You know what I mean? Like, so
right.
There's multiple opportunities for them to have like a little bit of surprise shock value. Yeah, Jay's not going to get his big moment, but I don't think you need Jay to get that big moment, like a big moment on a big stage like a SummerSlam or a WrestleMania, because we all love Jay. He's incredibly popular. He's very likable. So him winning at a Backlash won't hurt, his quote moment. So I'm just wondering, would they do that just to prolong this feud with Jay and then move into potentially, if Jay feuds with the Judgment Day, he might have Braun with him a little bit. It kind of implements Braun. It implements, whenever CM Punk and Matt. There's a lot of factors for World Heavyweight Championship material on Raw that I can see dethrone Priest faster than anybody on SmackDown could dethrone Cody.
Right, especially with how Cody won and who he defeated. Damian Priest used a cash in on a guy that just won the title.
Yep.
So you're right, man. There's so many avenues they could traverse. There's no way that we see Jimmy Uso at all, right? He got ostracized from the bloodline. I don't think they're going to reunite them just yet. Would you think?
I mean, that's a good point. I don't think so. He wasn't drafted technically, so he can go anywhere he wants.
It's just maybe if there's like a beat, like let's say Jey Uso loses and then there's a beat down, maybe right there. I just don't know. Is that too soon? Or are they going to welcome Jimmy back in? Is it going to take some time?
Yeah, I think if you want to bring Jimmy and Jay back together, I think it's Jimmy has to help Jay win. And I know that's kind of backwards booking because Jay's a face.
Right.
But there could be like shenanigans outside, maybe not this pay-per-view or maybe the next one, where Jay has an opportunity and Judgment Day take over and his saving grace ends up being Jimmy. And Jimmy is the one that actually helps Jay achieve his first singles championship. But at that point, you have to bury the entire, Jimmy is upset because he's the older brother. That has to go away for pretty much ever, right? Like if he gives Jay that spotlight by assisting him or helping him out with the numbers game. But again, I don't know if that happens now. I think you keep Jay off TV for like another month or so, and I think he still has some unfinished business that he has to tend to with Solo and with Tama
Yes.
Tonga.
That's what I was gonna
Yeah.
say. And I know 11 months away, but even before WrestleMania, definitely has been some speculation that we could in between there, if Roman's back by then, and if The Rock, if all things are kind of coming together, you could see War Games being Bloodline
Yeah.
versus Bloodline 2.0 or whatnot, and that's where you would get Jimmy, Jay, maybe a Cody, it's whoever they get to back that team. And I would say Jimmy could come in maybe later in the year instead of right now. I think absence makes the heart grow fonder, even though he was a heel last time we
Yep.
saw him.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, honestly, when you think about it, like The Rock, it's bringing in real life, his story earlier today that dropped that he's, hours and hours late on his movie set. Maybe
Oh
he's
yeah,
he's planning some Bloodline stuff, maybe he's too busy right now with the UFL and with all of that fun stuff. I don't know. We'll see. But no, but in all
that's right.
seriousness, I think that's where it has to go. Sides on sides. And obviously when Roman comes back, he's going to get this hero's welcome. I mean, he's
Yes.
already getting "We Want Roman" chants, as you and I noticed in Pittsburgh,
Yeah.
a few weeks ago for SmackDown. But in regards to this match, I do think Damian wins, but I do think his championship reign might be just a couple of months. And if there's a guy that could potentially dethrone him, it's Jay. But again, like I said, there's Drew, there's Punk that at this point do not need a championship. But I think that feud would benefit greatly after 2 or 3 matches when a championship has been introduced, whether it's Drew
Right.
winning or Punk winning.
Right. And my last little piece here before we move to the main event, I agree. I think Damian Priest will retain this title here. And God, the Raw roster is loaded, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And, Gunther, no longer IC champion. We can get to King of the Ring late next month, but I feel like that could be something where he is victorious. We also have Money in the Bank around the corner as well. And, I don't know if McIntyre and Punk, at least at first, needs the world title. So all these pieces are moving around. To me, even though Priest is champion right now, he seems, like you said, that 2, 3, 4 months maybe. I doubt that Damian Priest is world heavyweight champion by SummerSlam. I could almost guarantee that, just because of the amount of guys that I could see winning it and having more important stories down the line. You could do Damian Priest versus Finn Balor and not have the title on the line, at SummerSlam.
Yep, exactly.
And my last point, I have predicted this, not necessarily 11 months ahead, but I think right now I would say Jey Uso is my running favorite to win the Royal Rumble next year. Who do you, if you had to pick somebody, who would you pick?
That's a great question, because if Jay wins, he's going to face either Cody or whoever is the world champion. I'll be honest with you, if I had to pick now, it would probably be Punk, because I think he was at least initially the guy that they thought, aside from Cody, obviously with the last 2 guys remaining, that could be, right now, Punk.
I would say Punk, outside of my Jey Uso thing. If Gunther is not world champion by then, I'd say he's also a pretty strong contender. So who knows, man? Can't wait for another 7 months. Then we'll talk about it once again. Main event, though, co-main event. This is a match which, man, somehow these guys have never wrestled. I don't know how this is even fathomable. In fact, AJ Styles wrestled Cody's father, Dusty Rhodes, for the NWA title back in TNA long time ago, over 20 years ago. So the fact that we get AJ Styles challenging Cody Rhodes for the undisputed WWE title is fantastic. I can't wait for this match. It's nice having the clear and obvious, not just the Bullet Club, parallels between the two, but both Cody and AJ. Even Cody being in WWE at one point, their majority of their career where they really benefited and became who they are now was outside of WWE. And they use that to where they are now. And for them to be main eventing a PLE for WWE in 2024, I think is a testament to both guys and their hard work. And I'm looking forward to just this match in general. I don't think AJ's going to win, but I'm looking forward to Cody's first defense. And will we see any potential cracks in the crowd's love for Cody just yet?
No cracks. No cracks. The only thing that I would change about this is, well, two things. One, last week on SmackDown, they should have talked about their history in the Bullet Club. I think acknowledging that both of those guys were, quote, leaders of that group, went outside of WWE before they made it even bigger in WWE would be beneficial to the backstory, especially because, as we know, all WWE fans are not New Japan fans. So talking about that history is important. And number two, when I think about what Cody has overcome with the bloodline and that family, why in the hell would they not bring the OC back together?
Yep. I knew that was. I was gonna ask you. Go ahead. I figured that was where you were going.
Another family for Cody to overcome on his own.
Yes.
And I don't know if we see any. I don't know if we see them because obviously they're both drafted to SmackDown. Cody's not going to lose his match. I mean, I would bet my life on that. There's zero chance.
Well, that's on the record, folks.
There's zero chance. Yeah. So if AJ wins, then somebody has to take my life, apparently. So
well, you will not be seeing or listening to Josh Isenberg on the following PLE prediction show.
Yeah, if I'm not there next month, then you know why I'm not here. So, it makes no sense to me because whenever you think of AJ, AJ is great on his own. He doesn't need the other guys, but the other guys provide so much more depth of AJ. Even if they were involved, I mean, heck, they were involved in the Taker AJ match and did a great job at what they did for the theatric match at WrestleMania 36. That is just such a missed opportunity because they're not doing anything much in NXT, and this is nothing against Anderson and Gallows, but they're a great asset to AJ. And what better way for Cody to overcome something else than another family or another group? So that's the missed opportunity for me. But Cody wins.
Now, and I agree. I would say that's definitely a missed opportunity, but is it too crazy to think that they would shoehorn them in and have AJ Styles come out with them for the match, and it's as a kind of a surprise, and it's like, wow, Cody's got to overcome these odds, even though they don't present it on TV ahead of time. I think it could still be somewhat effective.
So I don't think so. I think the best case scenario would be if AJ loses, then the next couple of weeks on SmackDown, you might see, maybe Cody gets attacked backstage and you're not sure. And AJ sets up, Anderson and Gallows to target Cody. And that's how you bring them back together. I don't see this being a one-off. I can see Cody and AJ doing very similar to what they did with Cody and Seth, 3 matches. Cody will probably win 3 matches, but that doesn't devalue what AJ brings to the table. I don't see it at Backlash, but I do. They have to bring them back together. I mean, if not, then you're just wasting 2 guys who can provide a lot more depth and a lot more details in a story that can go longer than 3 weeks.
Well, Cody better watch out. He's not somehow wandering in the NXT parking lot, because that's exactly where the OC would take him out.
Oh, yeah, man.
So I feel like that, and you made a good point too. I mean, wasn't it, was it Roman or not Roman? Was it Roman? Well, AJ Styles had a couple matches at Backlash, I feel, that led into another match after the fact, or maybe I'm thinking of him and Shinsuke, where they would have a couple matches after the fact.
Shinsuke had Mania. Was it Extreme Rules? Maybe not Backlash right after that, and then Money in the Bank.
Yeah, Money in the Bank. They also had one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I agree. Well, let's say this. Let's say Cody wins and AJ Styles doesn't fade to obscurity, but he's just not going to wrestle for the title. Who would be the next challenger? Who do you think would challenge Cody next? And when would that be? Do you think it would be at King of the Ring, or that's just going to be purely the tournament? Because if that's the case, Clash at the Castle in June?
Yeah, that's a good question. Man, that's really good. I don't think Cody will defend at King of the Ring in Saudi. Right. He'll be there.
Maybe a segment.
Yeah, a segment, Grayson Waller effect or something, just to get him out there.
You mentioned Randy Orton earlier, but is June too soon for the legacy thing to kind? Because that's a huge story you can tell.
Yeah, and I think Randy will be around with the bloodline for a while.
Right.
And honestly, if I had to book it, I think Randy Cody would be the best fit for WrestleMania next year. But if I had to give a next competitor to Cody, I mean, aside from man, that's a great question. Aside from AJ,
Yeah.
and this is me really looking at SummerSlam because I think SummerSlam is the benchmark of the PLEs coming up. You know,
Right.
every international one has their own flavor, and they don't need to give those big matches because, like you said earlier, France has one. They're going to be, just excited for them to be there. Saudi going to be excited for that.
Clash of the Castle is not going to need a title. They're going to have Drew, and then Money in the Bank is going to be about Money in the Bank.
Exactly. So they do a good job at splitting those up and giving each one their own flavor. I mean, heck, Backlash last year was Damian Priest and Bad Bunny because they were in Puerto Rico. So, man, I don't know. I don't know.
You know what it is? It's almost that you booked it already. AJ should be the guy to continue.
For
Otherwise, maybe at least another one, or like for 3 months, let alone maybe not 3 matches, but it'll extend that long. Because otherwise, I feel like and I already phrased it like this before, but you're just shoehorning in. You're just like rushing. What are you gonna do? LA Knight? No, probably not. There's only so many different talent that you can do. Cody's not going to go back to doing the bloodline thing right at the moment. So, I mean, there's a lot. I guess there's a lot to be up in the air in general. I mean, anybody that I guess that got recently drafted to SmackDown could be a part of that. But
the only guy that I could think of, if they really need somebody that can always go and be a heel, is Kevin Owens.
Oh, okay. I wouldn't mind Kevin Owens and Cody.
Like at SummerSlam, maybe. But again, you have to figure out like how Kevin goes from beloved, which again he's had more heel face turns than Big Show. Like this guy's been
very
on both ends for years, right? And he's always liked, even though he's a heel. So, man, I think that the best idea is AJ because AJ is credible. AJ doesn't need the championship. You add more layers, like we said, with potentially the OC coming in. Cody potentially has a match with AJ at at either at Clash or Money in the Bank, whatever. And then SummerSlam comes around. But yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing you need is to plant seeds. And with Cody and Randy on the same show every single week, you can very, very slow play this to next year. But again, here's what it goes back to. It goes back to the surprise factor. There's Cody, I don't think is going to get booed. There might be some individuals that want to just not like him because, he had his moment and that's it. I get that. People want change and I understand that. But, hell, even to be honest with you, and I'm not sure how this would go, but you could add more to Cody if he had people behind him, whether it's guys from the Nightmare Factory, whether Dustin's contract comes up in AEW and he comes to WWE after, I think it's July or August. So there's options for him to build behind him, but there's not really great options for somebody to dethrone him.
And I like the idea of the Cody thing purely because we all know how it could end, where someone would inevitably turn on him, and that's where you get that match as well. Because Cody has been kind of, he's been doing it on his own, but he wins at WrestleMania, and everybody in the ring was there for him. So I think at some point, to your point, maybe there is someone that would be willing to, hey, I'll have your back. Maybe you get a tag match. Cody and someone versus AJ and the OC. I don't know. You could pull off something like that, and one of the two guys that are with Cody maybe turn on him, and that's how you get your following match. And I've mentioned this plenty of times specifically with you on this show, is it's really great that we don't know much after this show. We can't really predict who's going to be next. You just never know with the draft shaking things up and where certain guys are and not there anymore. I mean, I could have said maybe Braun Breaker could have been a guy to go against Cody even, but now he's on Raw. So it's just things change, and now we have no idea. But I think that's where you want to be if you're WWE. Especially now you're outside of WrestleMania, unpredictability is the best.
Yep, yep, and a lot of options too, which gives them credit for the depth for individuals that they've created, the individuals that they've put together and gave them, have given them that leash of being their own character and personality. And if I had to guess, man, I don't think Cody loses the title for at least a year, maybe longer.
Yeah, I think it would be it'd be crazy for them to take it off him unless he got hurt, of course.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
I think like I mentioned with if Jey Uso were to win, let's just say for instance, the Royal Rumble, you get either babyface versus babyface, former tag champs going one-on-one. I think that'd be like a beloved match of like respect. But you have so many other different avenues where even if they lose to Cody at WrestleMania, it's not going to kill their character. And it only helps elevate Cody as, look, the guy that beat Undertaker at WrestleMania had to have a longer career, and they did. And the guy who dethrones Roman's got to have a lengthy title reign too, otherwise it's for nothing. So I think he should, and I think at least a year is more than enough to at least establish that, and then we can figure it out down the line. Plus, again, with the second title pretty much created because of Roman, it kind of alleviates that. And now you can have Cody be champion for a year and a half, but you got Priest and Punk and McIntyre, Braun Breaker, Braun Strowman, Gunther, anybody could go for those titles. So Cody across the board then?
Cody, yeah. Whoa, yeah.
Whoa! You know what's interesting? Did you ever realize that he's done "whoa" twice in his songs?
Yeah, the beginning of his before dashing, yeah.
Yeah, but like I didn't. I just love that it's kind of I guess not kind of, definitely a heel theme before, and now it's just like the most beloved thing in the crowd.
Aside from you,
so funny.
It's handing out juice boxes at Xfinity Live in Philadelphia.
Well, that was the one day I got them in. The other day they were like, "You can't bring those in, sir." And I was like, "What are you talking about?"
That's interesting.
Yeah, I think it was the first day I absolutely brought them in. Yeah, Saturday, and then on Sunday he's like, "You gotta leave those," and I wasn't gonna chug them, so I just sat them out, and maybe someone took them. I hope someone did. It's a waste of juice, but there was no waste of juice today in the juice box. Happy to have Josh Isenberg once again, man. Any last words for this show? Are you looking forward to not having to be up at 5 a.m. to watch this one?
Oh yeah, very excited about it. I think every PLE provides something unique. The international ones are great. I'm excited for SummerSlam in Cleveland. That's an easy 2-hour drive for us folk in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. No, I'm just excited for what happens now because, there's always times where there's a little lag in pro wrestling after WrestleMania because there's so much excitement for it. But I think, again, like I said in the beginning of the juice box, that they're giving opportunities right now to see which mid-card guys will rise to the occasion. And I think that's the best way to do it. May through July is very important for those mid-card guys. And then once again, September through November, really, when you think about it, like who gets the opportunity, who rises to the occasion. And this is just a prime example of a lot of young people are striving to get where they want to be. And let's see who connects with the crowd. Let's see who takes advantage of the opportunity. And with some of the NXT people coming up, there is 7 to 8 new people. And I'm excited to see, what they do. And the very last thing I'll say is I'm very happy for Dijak on Monday Night Raw. That guy is so freaking talented. And he has great matches. He looks the part. He's intense. He has a great entrance. I hope that they give him an opportunity to thrive there because nothing against the other NXT talent that have been called up, but he is a guy that has been the total package, was given just in terms of what Jericho said years ago, bad creative. And I think he has good creative now coming up, but very excited to see who sticks. Very excited to see which talent rises to the occasion. And as always, I'm fulfilled on the juice box.
Of course, man. As I always am every time you throw a straw in the juice box. And to your point, even with the lull, I kind of equate, we have a Royal Rumble and it leads to WrestleMania. And I would say that the summer version of WrestleMania is SummerSlam. And how do you begin that road? Money in the Bank. So it's a very important time, as you said, for those kind of middle of the road guys who this is an opportunity. CM Punk is kind of injured too, so he's going to be figured in later on. If someone rises to the top and makes their moment felt, and man, I'm glad you said Dijak. I've been singing his praises for like 6-7 years. I'm so glad that he's got a different type of character now, and it's badass, and I really want to see him thrive. And to your point with the Final Testament, being on Raw, 3 hours is plenty of time. Let's see him. God, him and Gunther, him and Braun Breaker, him and Bronson Reed, just plenty of opportunities there for a guy like Dijak. So really looking forward to that, man. Can't wait for Backlash this Saturday from France. Francais. Parlez-vous. But oui. But as it was, Josh Isenberg, I'm Juice Springsteen. I hope you guys all enjoy this show and enjoy Backlash this Saturday. And I'll see you guys next week with another episode of The Juice Box. That was The Juice Box with Juice Springsteen. Make sure to subscribe to The Juice Box wherever you listen to podcasts.